Hey boys, welcome back to some more Supercoach BBL season 2023-2024. It's always annoying how it goes into 2 years, but yeah, the 23-24 season, we're gonna be continuing on with a little bit more of a deep dive into this upcoming BBL. And like I said, and honestly, I feel like I'm going to stick by being more into this BBL. I don't know. I feel good about it this year, and yeah, a good part of that is also doing some more videos and trying to, do a little bit of my own research, because I'm honestly a noob when it comes to the BBL Supercoach. I play like a round, 2 rounds at max, and then give it away. So I'm never really there for the middle and the back end. It's over pretty quickly. But yeah, we're going to go through. I thought we would just do a video for each team. We'll talk about players that I'm interested in. We'll talk about the fixtures and potential, pickups and trade-ins, this and that. So one thing I've learned with this BBL, and I don't know if it's been like this for previous, but apparently we have max trades. So that means you can not run out of trades before the final round, if that makes sense. You can't. It's not like NRL Supercoach. If you rip through your trades, you're going to be done, like, I don't know, maybe like 10 rounds to go, maybe something like that, give or take. In the BBL, you can it's honestly more of a tactic to use your trades. Like, you're going to be trading in and out. So that is a massive part, and it's a big important part for people to know, because if you're coming from other Supercoach games, and I don't know, I know some of the other ones are similar, but especially NRL Supercoach, if you're coming from that, then you're going to be like, trades are pretty important. You don't want to waste them. In this, you got to use them. Like, you actually have to use them, unless your team is perfect, but you're going to want to use them regardless. So that is a big one. Also, I'm pretty sure that the prices change after round 1. They must, right? There's only there's not enough rounds for it to take like 3 games for them to change. So again, the prices will change quickly, up and down. So again, that's why trading is important. So with that out of the way, let's go through the strikers. So first and foremost, let's actually have a look at their draw, because this is his, that's the previous stats. We could have a deep dive, but there's not too much. Well, it is important, but that's okay. It's actually showing like their averages against the teams as well, which is handy. But so they play 1 game in round 1, which is, it's okay. Obviously, there's Brisbane have the 3 games in round 1, which is pretty important, and then there's a couple other teams with 2 games in round 1, but you don't want to not pick a player just because they have only one game in round 1, depending on the player. It's not necessarily the most important thing, but it is important, because then in round 2 they have a double game and then a bye in round 3. So this is a pretty classic example. You're probably looking at the start of the draw for strikers. It leans to maybe picking up 1 or 2 potentially with an okay start. I mean, Brisbane Heat are a pretty good matchup first up. Like, they're a team that sort of probably concede a lot of points. Like, even though they went well last year, especially to batters, like they're bowling. Their bowling, I don't think, is that strong. The Brisbane Heat again this year. I mean, they do have Spencer Johnson, who could be good, but and I guess Michael Nisa. So they're not there. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but it's a decent start, and then the double, and then round 3, you're probably going to look to trade out your strikers. If you, again, you don't necessarily have to, but it's not a bad idea, because then They have a bye, then they have one game in round 4, one game in round 5, and then a double in round 6. Look at the draw though. They play a double in round 6, but they play the Perth Scorchers in both of those games. So that is interesting. And then in 7 and 8 and 9, they play Hobart, and then Sydney Thunder to round it out. So it's a pretty fucking wild draw. They play Perth Scorchers twice in the same round, and then they play Hobart twice in corresponding rounds. That's insane. And that's very interesting because it's like, is that good or bad? You know, because I mean, you would look at a double round and you'd be like, that's good, but the Perth Scorchers, they're like the best team in the comp. Like, they've been the best team consistently basically since the inception, and they've got an extremely stacked side this year. And you look at his average against the Scorchers is not that flash hot. So it's an interesting proposition. Do you want to bring back strikers for that double? I mean, it's still not bad. Again, looking at the draw, start with a couple and then maybe trade out, and then again, we'll talk about the players in a second if they're actually worth bringing in. But yeah, a double against the Scorchers is not necessarily like a great get. And then they play Hobart 2 in a row. So again, they have a pretty good average against Hobart, which is handy. But draw is interesting. So let's have a look at the players more closely. So starting out with Matt Short. Now, Matt Short, was he the top? Is he the top? The top price player? I think he is at 244k, or at least he's 1 or 2. He obviously was fantastic last year. Opens the batting, occasionally bowl. I mean, he actually bowled pretty consistently his the first over. He didn't usually bowl more than 1 over, which only bowling 1 over is fine, but he does need to sort of take a wicket to get any points in that over. He's not going to get any sort of economy points in 1 over, so it's fine if he keeps doing it. But I guess if he takes the first over again, sort of consistently, you would expect the odd wicket here and there. Obviously, the batting though is the mainstay. He was fantastic. I personally, I'm leaning against starting him. I mean, honestly, I'm not even really that keen. Like, I know the prices aren't like that crazy. So the most expensive, 244k, it's not like he's blown it. It's not like NRL where you're spending like $1 million compared to 500k, right? Like, it's not a huge difference, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to rip apart your team to fit Matt Short in, but I think it's been pretty like consistent in BBL that a guy has a bit of a breakout year and then they don't necessarily fall off a cliff, but it's hard to keep that up. It is hard to keep that up. We'll look at some guys that have been like standouts. A guy in this team as well, Rashid Khan, for instance, but like other guys like Josh Philippe, Ben McDermott, I mean, another guy in this, well, a couple, we'll talk about a couple in this team actually. So I don't really see him keeping that average up, if I'm being honest. I could be completely wrong, but I don't know. He's obviously been in good form regardless of just the BBL. Like, he's been good in first-class cricket. But I'm leaning against starting Matt Short. Chris Lynn at 167. He was sort of back to his... not back to his best last year, but he was definitely back to some good Chris Lynn form. Obviously, he's going to bat number 3, or he could open potentially in this team. With quite a few guys. That's the other thing I should mention. The other thing we worked out is that all the test match players will not be featuring in the BBL, I think, at all. I think they're going to be away for the whole BBL. So if we look quickly, I mean, Alex Carey, Travis Head in this team. So I don't know. They might open Chris Lynn, maybe, or just bat 3. The batting, the position isn't really the issue. It's just, again, Chris Lynn, he's solid enough. I think he's a guy that if their draw was more favourable, I could definitely see starting Chris Lynn, because if he had a couple more double matchups and this and that, like that's good. But he does like getting a low score. So with a couple more doubles or a couple of better matchups, especially, you know, the one double against Perth and then the other one Sydney Thunder and the Sixers. I mean, let's have a quick look. What is the average against? I mean, he averages pretty good against both Sydney sides. He averages pretty good against the Scorchers, to be fair. And then Hobart, he averages well at the same time. But funnily enough, against Brisbane, his couple of games did not go that well for him. But yeah, I don't know. I just think Chris Lynn, he obviously is going to pull out the odd big score, but I do think the consistent big scores are a bit behind Chris Lynn. I still love watching him bat though. Still love watching him. James Bazley from the Heat. Again, it's going to be interesting to see where he lines up in this team. Like, he did a pretty good job for the Heat. Like, he definitely pissed me off. Like, I'm a Heat fan, and he had some great performances, and he had some absolute stinkers. He obviously can hit a big ball. He can be pretty handy with the bat. His bowling is actually pretty okay. The problem with Bazley, I think he's one of these guys that the opportunities I don't think are going to be that prevalent for him. He'll bat pretty low in the order, I would think, and that's already not great. Obviously, with the all-rounder status is nice, but the bowling, I could definitely see him not bowling his 4 overs. He can be pretty costly. He's pretty one-paced. He does, you know, like any bowler, he does have a decent slow ball, but I'm not necessarily that huge on his bowling. So Bazley, not that interested in. The young tearaway Henry Thornton. So he came in and absolutely ripped it apart at the back end of the season. How did he actually go? I'm actually curious to see what was his. Does it not have? It had it for did it have it for Matt Short? I thought it did. Am I going crazy? Am I going mad? I thought it's I guess we can still see it. I thought I saw I thought it showed the actual rounds by rounds for the team, but that's fine. That's fine. Henry Thornton. So how did he actually go? Yeah, he I don't remember the games. I remember him absolutely ripping it apart in a few. Obviously against the Thunder, the Thunder, even like Perth, Melbourne. He had a couple of really good games. Hobart, I don't know what happened there. But he's quick, he can swing it. Like he's definitely gonna be one of their frontline pace bowlers. So I don't actually hate Henry Thornton as an option, but again, the 160k, like there's gonna be some guys for that price and cheaper that I just prefer. Like you could take. I think he's a guy that is a bit of he'll be a pod. I would assume a bit of a smoky to start with, and he could absolutely tear it up because he's got that ability. Wes Agar next off the list here, 146k. I don't mind Wes Agar, but he's usually pretty expensive. He does pick up wickets. You know, he is a wicket taker, but again, I just think there's better options than Wes Agar. Alex Carey is obviously going to be away with test duties. Rashid Khan at 130,000. This is the guy, like I was talking about it before, that they start. Well, I mean, Rashid Khan's not the best example because he was at like one of the tops for like many years, and then he sort of gradually dropped off a little bit, and not his performances necessarily. He's still one of the, if not the best T20 bowler in world cricket. It's just that I think Australian batters they're starting to be a little bit better facing him. They're doing a little bit better. And it shows with the wickets. Like, he still keeps it very economical, but he's just not picking up those bags of wickets. He gets 2 occasionally, but he didn't really get many, 3s and 4s last year. He does start well against the Heat. The Heat, he apparently kills it. And then even the double game, Thunder and Sixers, and then against the Renegade. Well, Renegades is after the bye, but he does pretty well. Even against the Scorchers, he does pretty well. And I mean, that's Rashid Khan. He's been a gun for a long time. I think at 130k, Rashid Khan is a absolute. I'm not saying a must-have, but like, it's very tough not to pick him. I'm definitely going to start with Rashid Khan. He can throw the bat. His World Cup form has actually been okay. Like, his batting in BBL has been fucking dreadful for a few years. Like, he can hit an odd ball, but he's so... Oh, man. Last couple of years, he's barely laid bat on ball, I feel like. But the ODI World Cup, he's actually looked better with bat in hand. So, I don't know, maybe he's worked on his batting a bit and he'll bring a little bit more consistency down the order. Obviously, you're not expecting many runs from him, but if he can get a few away, obviously that improves the stats. And, I mean, 130k, it's just... I feel like it's again, very, very tough case not to go Rashid Khan. Travis Head away with test duties. Jamie Overton, now this is an overseas from England. Apparently a good all-rounder. I honestly, I don't know anything about him. So, but at 125k, if he gets a good role in this team, again, that's very juicy to pick up. So, Rashid Khan for me is definitely in. And like I said, I think to start with strikers, you're probably not going to want more than 2, maybe 3, because there are a couple other guys of good value in this team. It does depend sort of on Jamie Overton, sort of what he brings to the team. Is he going to get like a lower order spot? Will he be sort of higher up in the middle order? Will he bowl his 4 overs? I'm not too sure. But if he does have a big role at 125k as an all-rounder, like, you sort of, that's very good. That's very good value to pick up. Cameron Boyce, he's a guy that, he's been around. It feels like he's been around for bloody 100 years, Cameron Boyce. Like, I remember when he made his ODI debut as a youngster, and he's always had the ability to turn it a long way, and that felt like so long ago. Like, that was back when, like, Cameron White and fucking all those lads were in the team. The Cameron Boyce, like, I don't know, I've always liked him. He's never really been able to find a spot in a team for like a consistent amount of time. Like, I remember a few years ago, like, I think it was at the Renegades, he occasionally opened the batting as like a bit of a pinch hitter, slogger to start, which it didn't really work out too often, but he could hit a ball, and he had a pretty good season for a couple of times. I think at the Renegades, I'm pretty sure, and then he's been flipped around a few times. I wouldn't start with him, obviously, but I've always liked Cameron Boyce, so I mean, I hope he can find a spot in this team, but they do have quite a... Yeah, I don't know. They obviously got Rashid Khan as the main spinner, and then I guess they could use another spinner, maybe. Adam Hose, I wouldn't be going with Adam Hose. He just sort of didn't really set it alight too much last year, as you can see with the price there. He can hit a big ball, but just where he's in the batting lineup just doesn't really favour Supercoach. Brendan Doggett from the... What did he play last year? Thunder? Yeah, started with the Heat, went to the Thunder last year. He's probably going to be... him, Agar, and Thornton probably going to be their 3 quick bowlers. Who are going to be their bowlers? Let's have a quick look. So you've got, you got Doggett, Agar, and Thornton, the quickies, and then you got Baisley as the, all-rounder. Then you got Jamie Overton as an all-rounder. So there's potentially 5 bowlers there. Obviously, Rashid Khan is going to be the spin option, so you got to take away one of those bowlers. So maybe Doggett doesn't play, and then if they wanted to play a second spinner, Cameron Boyce might replace Baisley or Overton potentially. So, and even you go down here, Ben Menenti, who's shown to be a pretty handy offie in this format. Again, he hasn't had too many opportunities with the Sixers. Where did he play last? Fuck, I don't remember, dude. They switched like in a year. But he's had he had a few good games over his brief couple of years, Menenti. He's not bad. He's honestly, he can hold the bat as well. He won't get a huge role with the bat if he does, but he can hit a ball. And he's more of those like off, darty offies, just keeping it tidy, pick up the odd wicket. So honestly, I don't know what they're going to do with the bowling. I would think Wes Agar and Thornton definites with Rashid Khan. And then it comes down to Baisley, Overton. Probably Boyce just doesn't play. Even though I like him, they probably just don't go that way. Ben Menenti could get a run, so I don't know. Doggett, I just feel like is a bit of a risk. Like, he can pick up wickets, he is quick, but yeah, the consistency is not there for Doggett, so I wouldn't be too keen. Menenti, like I was just talking about, he, if he got if he got a consistent start, which again I don't think he would, if he did at 75k, pretty good value, but not to be. Henry Hunt, you wouldn't think would make the team. Obviously, he's good in longer formats, but yeah, T20 doesn't really suit his game, I think, Henry Hunt. Then you have, Harry Nielsen we won't talk about because he's the wicket keeper, but he doesn't really offer too much with bat in hand. So, and Thomas Kelly as well. I don't think Kelly gets a run this year. Kelly's always been a bit of an odd man out, in my opinion. I've never really known why they keep picking Kelly. Like, I don't necessarily not like Kelly, but he's always so far down the order and he doesn't bowl. It's always a strange one to me. So in this team, it doesn't look like he gets a run, but I don't know. Maybe they just don't pick, again, Baisley or Overton as the all-rounders and go with Kelly again. I'm not too sure, but regardless, he doesn't bat high enough to really warrant a spot. Or maybe, without, if Chris Lynn goes to open, I don't know, does Thomas Kelly go up the order? I don't know. One to keep an eye on, I guess. But then, the 2 guys I want to talk about, Darcy Short and Jake Weatherald. So both of these guys are fucking prime examples of, like I was talking about with Matt Short. Like, they were the standouts for a long time, and then for whatever reason, form isn't there. They work out the batter for whatever reason, and then they dip. They dip a lot. It's so funny that they're in the same team now because they got the same role. Like, Jake Weatherald was completely out of form, right? So they move him. Like, he was in and out of the team as well, but then they move him down into like the middle order to try to see if he could gain form there. And then same thing with Short. Short at the fucking Hurricanes was fucking dynamite, and then he literally just could not lay bat on ball. Like, watching Darcy Short bat for the last couple of years has been like just painful. The odd time he got past like 20 or 30 runs, it would be at 100 strike rate. He would get like 30 or fucking 30 odd balls. It was painful. and then they did the same thing. They moved him down the order at like 5 or 6 or something, and that did not work. Like, it did not work. So both of these guys, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Do they both get in the team? And do they go one of them in the middle order and then try one of them back up the top? Because this is where probably Chris Lynn probably does stay at 3. And then who is it? Darcy Short or Weatherald take the other opening spot? Because, I mean, I guess they could go Henry Hunt as the opener. But, like, I don't know. I wouldn't go Henry Hunt. Like, he's a bit more technical, obviously. But I feel like T20, you got to get off to a good start. Who else could open? No one. It's Matt Short and Chris Lynn, or surely Chris Lynn just stays at 3, and they go with it's either Weatherall or Darcy Short, and I feel like whichever one of those gets the opening spot at 67, 62k, basically bottom dollar price, you've got to start with one of them, right? Like, they've been in such bad form. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, who gets the spot? I mean, I'm probably leaning towards Darcy Short because, well, not in terms of like getting the spot, but leaning towards him, like picking him up, because he also provides a potential bowling. Like, he has bowled okay in the past, like his little Chinaman's, his little left arm leggies. He's bowled okay, and he picks up the odd wicket if he gets a chance. He's not the worst, so he could get a spot. Like, if they only have Rashid Khan, and I guess Matt Short can bowl the odd offie over. If they want another spin option, they could have Darcy Short just bowl an over or two. So I'm leaning Darcy Short as the pickup, but if Weatherald gets the opening spot, I probably prefer Weatherald as a player. I feel like Weatherald wasn't in as bad a form as Short was, but Weatherald was sort of pushed down the order pretty quickly, and it just really did not work middle order for Weatherald. And they didn't... I mean, I might be misremembering. I know he was in bad form. Like, I know he's in really bad form for a couple of years. Like, he just couldn't quite get away. But I didn't feel like it was too bad, and then they sort of pushed him down. Darcy Short, though, he was given, like, every opportunity at the top of the order and fucking stunk. He was so bad. So, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to lean to, but again, whichever one gets the opening spot, I think at 60-odd K, it's very hard to pass up the potential of those guys. Like, cricket is a funny game, Players can come in and out of form, but the fact these two have been in bad form for so long, it's hard to see them just all of a sudden going bang and getting back into it. But you never know. It'll be interesting to see. But with all that said, at the moment, I'm leaning with 2 strikers, either Darcy Short or Weatherald, and then Rashid Khan for me is a bit of a lock. I could see a Henry Thornton potentially as a sneaky pickup, but then anyone else. I mean, Matt Short is going to be popular just because how good he was last year, but I don't know. I'm leaning against Matt Short. It could be a mistake. He could absolutely kill it to start the year, but I don't know. I'm leaning against it. And then Jamie Overton is also a guy to keep an eye on, because again, if we look at the top order, let's just say Darcy Short opens. So Matt Short, Darcy Short, and then Chris Lynn at 3. Who is the 4? Oh my god. The fucking site's lagging. Who is the 4? I mean, maybe Weatherald. Maybe they go Weatherald at 4. Maybe, if they want to stick him in the middle order. But if not Weatherald, then fuck, who else is it going to be? I don't know. I mean, maybe Overton. Potentially. I gotta be honest, looking at the strikers team, I'm not overly confident about them this year. I just feel like they're missing a couple of really good batters. I mean, again, maybe Thomas Kelly gets a better role with the bat this year. They do seem to be missing some batters. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be an interesting to see or interesting to watch how they're going to line up the 11, because I honestly don't know. They've got a couple of potential all-rounders, but I feel like they're missing a couple of genuine batters. So we'll see. But yeah, the way they're looking, it does sort of seem like Short and Weatherald will get a start in this team, and then it just it comes down to who gets the opening spot. And oh man, if one of them goes terrible, the other goes poor, then they could switch them around the next game. Like, it is a bit of a risk going one or the other, but we'll see. So that'll wrap up the Adelaide Strikers. I'm leaning towards picking up 2. I don't think you really want too many more than that to start the year, but again, I could be completely wrong. I'm not an expert in the BBL, so we'll see how they go. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the Supercoach action. Make sure to like and comment, and I'll see you in the next one.